The oil stain was there. The car wasn't. For a second my brain tried to Photoshop the hatchback back into the driveway. Midnight blue paint, sun-faded roof, the tiny dent near the rear badge that no one but me ever noticed. I stood there with a grocery bag cutting into my fingers, listening for a chirp that wouldn't come. No glint of metal. No shadow. Just an empty rectangle and the smear of oil like a signature from a ghost. I put the milk in the mailbox without thinking and walked the perimeter like a cop on a TV show. No broken glass. No tire tracks in the soft strip of dirt by the curb. I checked my pocket, then the ceramic bowl by the front door. Only one key on the hook, the spare to my bike lock. The car's spare was gone. I told myself I was being dramatic. Cars get towed. Cars get stolen. Both are ordinary, solvable, boring. I opened my phone with numb fingers and dialed the non-emergency line. Make, model, color. The dispatcher asked, voice brisk and kind. I answered, automatically. She asked about outstanding tickets. I had none. She put me on hold to check local impounds, came back with a soft apology. Nothing matching that plate. You can file a report if you'd like. Right, I said. Maybe I just parked somewhere else. The lie sounded weak in my own mouth. I hung up and knocked on my neighbor's door. Mrs. Patel answered with a towel over one shoulder, the smell of turmeric and toast drifting out behind her. She's the type who notices when the mailman changes his route. Did you see a tow truck here today? I asked. Her eyebrows knit. Not a tow. A flatbed. She held the towel like a sash. 2 men. One in a polo, one in a mechanic's shirt. Around 2. Your father was with them. She hesitated. He waved. I felt the first tilt of the floor. My dad. She nodded, visibly uncomfortable. He had keys. I assumed you knew. I thanked her and backed away, hearing my heartbeat in my teeth. Inside, I found the milk sweating in the mailbox and shoved it into the fridge without closing the door fully. My hands went through the kitchen like they were looking for proof. Junk drawer, pen cup, cork board by the phone. The cork board had a new thumbtack. Under it, a business card, Lux Travels, let's make memories. A note on the back in my mother's tidy handwriting, balance due by Friday. The number matched one I'd seen on our family group chat a dozen times in the past week, buried under photos of tux fittings and mocktails. My brother's wedding countdown. My brother's honeymoon wish list. My phone buzzed on the counter, screen lighting with a photo of him and his fiancée clinking flutes. 10 days. Bora Bora, here we come palm tree clinking glasses. I stared at the exclamation points until they blurred. Then I called my mother. She answered on the second ring. Honey, she said, too bright. Everything okay? Where's my car? A beat. What? Why would I? Mrs. Patel saw Dad here with a flatbed at 2. She said he waved. Oh, she breathed, exhale whistling past the edges of a story not yet invented. Well, don't be upset. We were going to. Where is my car? Another beat. In the background I heard dishes clinking, a TV murmuring, my father laughing at something too loudly, like someone who wants his voice to fill the room before the truth can. Can you come by? She said finally. It's easier to talk in person. The drive to my parents' house is 15 minutes if you breeze through yellow lights. I hit every red. My brain fed me clips the entire way. The winter I bought the car with a down payment made of overtime and missed parties. The first time it sputtered in a storm and still got me home. The trip to the mountains where I slept in the back, curled around a backpack like it could float me if the world flooded. It wasn't just transportation. It was the first big thing in my life that didn't ask for permission from anyone else. I turned onto their street and found my father on the porch with a lemonade like it was July in a commercial. Wind chimes pinged. A Bon Voyage banner drooped over the doorway, weighted at the corners with clothespins. He smiled when he saw me, then his face did a quick, guilty flicker, like a cloud crossing a sun. "Hey, champ," he said, standing. He only called me champ when I was about to lose. Inside, the air was lemon cleaner and roast chicken. The dining table had become a staging ground, travel brochures fanned open to pages that looked like desktop wallpapers, an itinerary printed and paper-clipped, a gold envelope embossed with the words Honeymoon Registry. There was also a manila folder half-tucked under a placemat, edges frayed. I didn't sit. I didn't touch the chicken. I looked at my mother. She had the smile she uses for waiters when the food is late, but she doesn't want to ruin the night. "You look pale," she said. "Sit down. We'll talk." "Where is my car?" I asked, calmer than before. It scared me, how calm I sounded. Like someone else was handling the controls. My father cleared his throat. "Now, before you get worked up, where is it?" He glanced at my mother. She folded a napkin with surgeon-level precision. "It's taken care of," she said. "Taken care of," I repeated. The words felt like ice cubes in my mouth. As in not something you need to worry about, my father said. He tried to make it a joke and failed halfway through. "I mean the insurance and all, you know." Insurance. I could feel my pulse climbing my neck. "So it was stolen?" My mother winced. "Don't be dramatic." I put my palms on the table to feel wood and not air. My eyes landed on the manila folder. Titles. Receipts. Carbon copies. I slid it out. On top, a bill of sale, handwritten, a price that made my stomach drop, numbers too small to belong to my car. The buyer's name I didn't recognize. The signature line, my name, spelled right, in someone else's hand. The room got quieter and louder at the same time. The wind chimes outside seemed to scream. I looked up slowly. My father couldn't quite meet my eyes. My mother's chin lifted, tiny defiance in the tilt. "We handled it," she said, softer now, as if the softness would smooth the jagged edges of the sentence. "It's done." "How?" I asked. The word cracked as it left my mouth. "How did you sign my name?" "You gave us a spare," my father said too quickly, as if keys and signatures were the same species. "We were trying to avoid a scene. It's not like you don't have options. Bus, rideshare, your bike. You work from home 2 days a week." I laughed once. It came out wrong, meaner than I felt. "You sold my car," I said, because I needed to hear the full shape of it in the air, undeniable. "You sold my car." My mother pressed the napkin so flat it shone. "For your brother," she said, words steady now that the train had left the station. "For his honeymoon. It's once in a lifetime. Family helps family." My jaw worked, trying to find language that could hold the burn in my chest. I looked around the room for something that proved I was still in the same universe I'd woken up in this morning. The clock ticked. The chicken smelled like thyme. On the fridge, a magnet held a printout, Bora Bora package, remaining balance. A thick black line slashed across the total. Paid in block letters, stamped bright and final. "You didn't even call me," I said. It came out quiet, smaller than I wanted. "You didn't ask." My father's mouth tightened. "If we told you, you'd say no." Because it's my car. It's just a car, my mother said, and there it was, the sentence that burned down the distance between us. Your brother's wedding is special. He and Lila have been through so much. We made a decision. We'll help you figure something out. The room tilted again. In some cheap movie, this is where the character flips the table, or throws the plate, or storms out and drives off in a burst of gravel. I didn't have a table flip in me. I didn't have a car. I closed the manila folder gently and set it back down next to the glossy brochure with turquoise water and sun-drunk smiles. My hands were shaking. I placed them flat on my thighs to hide it and took a long breath through my teeth until the sound of it steadied me. Okay, I said finally, eyes on the bill of sale, on my name rendered by a stranger's wrist. Start from the beginning. Tell me exactly what you did, and why you thought it was yours to do. My mother's practiced smile faltered. My father sat, the lemonade sweating on a ring of water that widened on the wood. No one touched the chicken. The wind chime pinged twice, as if waiting for a cue. And then my mother opened her mouth. My mother didn't launch straight into the truth. She started with a story, as if easing me in. Mason and Lila put a deposit on the honeymoon package months ago, she said, fingers smoothing that napkin like it was the only thing tethering her. But the resort had an issue. They raised the price last minute. Non-refundable. They were devastated. Your brother was beside himself. Beside himself. I echoed the words flat. She gave me a look, soft and pleading. He's had such a rough year. The stress with work, the wedding planning. I cut in. Rough year? He's the one who quit his job in March because his boss asked him to show up on time. Dad's chair creaked as he leaned back, frown deepening. Don't talk about your brother that way. He's trying. I turned the bill of sale around, tapping the numbers. You sold my car for a fraction of its worth. This is insulting. Dad shifted uncomfortably. It was quick cash. We didn't have time to haggle. Quick cash. I laughed, sharp and humorless. So forging my name and gutting the value of the only thing I own outright, that's quick cash to you? Before either of them could answer, the front door clicked open. Mason strolled in like a man who owned the place, which, apparently, he almost did now. Lila trailed behind him, cheeks pink from the autumn wind, a wedding magazine tucked under her arm. Hey! Mason beamed, spotting me. Oh, you heard. Look, don't be mad. It's just a car, dude. He reached out, clapped me on the shoulder like we were sharing a joke. We'll make it up to you. You can borrow mine whenever. I jerked away. Borrow yours? The one Mom and Dad are still paying insurance on. His smile twitched. You're blowing this out of proportion. Family helps family. That's what they said. I muttered. Funny how family always means me giving, and you taking. Lila finally spoke, her voice cautious. It was for something beautiful. A honeymoon is once in a lifetime. I stared at her, trying to decide if she actually believed that justified theft. She shifted under my gaze, looking anywhere but me. I want the buyer's information, I said at last. Dad shook his head instantly. That's not necessary. It's very necessary, I snapped. You forged my name on a legal document. Whoever has my car has property that isn't theirs. Give me the name. The silence stretched. My mother folded the napkin again, until it was a thin strip. Finally, she sighed and pulled a scrap of paper from under the folder. A name. A number. A lot address scrawled in blue ink. I pocketed it without a word. 2 hours later, I stood outside a gravel lot on the edge of town, chain-link fence sagging under the weight of rust and ivy. A crooked sign read, "Sam's Autos, best cash offers, no questions asked." Inside, rows of cars sat like abandoned soldiers, some with missing wheels, some with fresh stickers still on the windows. I spotted mine instantly. Midnight blue paint dulled by dust, dent by the badge still there. A cheap pine tree air freshener dangled from the rear view, and on the dash, a receipt from the coffee shop I always stopped at before work. My chest tightened. It was still mine. I marched toward the trailer office, knocking hard enough to rattle the flimsy door. A man with a beard like steel wool cracked it open. "You Sam?" I asked. He grunted. "Depends who's asking." "I'm the owner of that blue hatchback you bought today." I pointed at my car. The sale was fraudulent. My parents forged my name. "That car's mine." He smirked, leaning against the frame. "Paperwork says otherwise." "Paperwork is forged," I shot back. "Not my problem," he said, tone slick. "Car's already listed for resale. You want it back, you pay what I paid, plus my trouble." I stepped closer. "Or I call the police right now and report possession of stolen property." He didn't flinch. Just shrugged. "Go ahead. They'll tell you it's civil. Not my first rodeo, kid." Something in me sagged. He was right. Partially. I'd heard enough horror stories to know cops loved the words, "civil matter." Still, the forged signature, that was criminal. I pulled out my phone anyway. "Then we'll let them decide." Sam squinted at me, sizing me up. "Suit yourself. But better hurry." He jerked his chin toward the lot. "Truck's coming tomorrow to haul it to auction. Once it's gone, it's gone." The words hung in the air like a countdown. I stepped back, eyes fixed on my car, memorizing the VIN etched on the windshield. My pulse thudded as I lifted my phone to snap a photo. If nothing else, I had proof. Tomorrow, my car would vanish forever, unless I acted fast. And for the first time that day, anger shifted into resolve. The police station smelled faintly of burnt coffee and dust, the kind of place where time didn't move so much as circle endlessly. A fluorescent light above the front desk flickered like a bad omen. The officer on duty glanced up from his computer, unimpressed. "Report." "Yes." My voice cracked with the effort to stay calm. "My car was sold without my permission. Forged documents. I have proof." He raised an eyebrow, motioning me closer. I slid the photo of the bill of sale across the counter, tapping my name spelled neatly in my mother's delicate handwriting. "That is not my signature. That is fraud." The officer leaned back in his chair, scratching his jaw. "And who signed it?" "My parents," I said bluntly. "They sold it to a used lot. I found it. The guy's already trying to resell it." A long pause. He exhaled through his nose. "Technically, that's a civil dispute. Family property, family signatures." "It's not family property. It's registered in my name. Sole owner. They had no legal right." I pushed the registration across the desk. "Look. Black and white. My car." His eyes flicked between the papers. Something softened, but not enough. "I'll file a report," he said slowly. "But you'll need to pursue charges with the DA if you want to push forgery. We don't just arrest parents for signing a kid's name." "Kid," I repeated, bitter. "I'm 26. He gave me a flat look, the kind that said he'd seen this too many times. "File the report. Call the DA. Maybe they'll do something. Maybe not. But if the dealer moves that car out of state before paperwork clears, he spread his hands. You'll be chasing ghosts. Chasing ghosts. That's what it felt like already. By the time I left the station, night had settled over the town. The street lamps buzzed, moths slamming themselves stupid against the glow. My phone vibrated in my pocket. Mason. I ignored it. Seconds later, a text buzzed through. Mason, heard you're making a scene. Don't ruin this for me. Then another. It's just a car. You'll get another. I stood there on the sidewalk, the words bleeding anger into my veins. He knew. He knew what Mom and Dad had done, and instead of shame, he had the gall to frame me as the problem. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. For once, I didn't want to send a clever reply. I wanted him to feel the weight of silence. Instead, I turned the corner and headed to the lot. The chain-link fence was locked now, the office dark. My car sat under the harsh glare of a floodlight, lonely and exposed. I pressed my hand against the cold wire, imagining the wheel in my grip, the smell of old coffee in the cup holder, the feeling of being in control of something. Tomorrow it could be gone. I pulled out my phone and snapped more photos, VIN, license plate, the whole lot. Evidence. Proof. Then I walked home, each step heavier than the last. When I finally unlocked my apartment door, the quiet felt different, thicker, hostile. I dropped onto the couch, phone buzzing again. A group chat notification. Family. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Mom, we need to talk calmly. You're blowing this out of proportion. Dad, you'll understand when you're older. Family sacrifices for each other. Mason, face with tears of joy, imagine calling the cops on your own parents. Grow up. The laughter emoji was the match. My fingers flew before I could stop them. Me, you didn't just take my car. You took my trust. And when that's gone, there's nothing left. No one replied. 3 dots appeared, then vanished. I lay back, staring at the ceiling, the sound of my own heartbeat filling the silence. For the first time, I wondered, not if I could get my car back, but if I could ever get my family back. And in that thought was a colder, sharper truth. Maybe I didn't want to. I didn't have to wait long for the clash. Mason showed up the next morning. I was halfway through a stale piece of toast when the pounding started on my apartment door. 3 heavy thuds, the kind that screamed arrogance. Open up, Mason called, voice dripping with fake cheer. We need to talk. I considered ignoring him, but the pounding came again, louder. My neighbors didn't deserve that circus. I opened the door a crack. He leaned against the frame like he owned the place, sunglasses perched on his head though the sky outside was overcast. Bro, he said, grinning. Why are you being such a drama queen? It's not a big deal. My jaw tightened. You mean the theft? The forgery? The part where my car got stolen out of my driveway? He waved a hand. Oh, come on. Stolen. That's dramatic. It's family money, family resources. You don't need it like I do. The audacity was staggering. Say that again. He smirked. You don't need it. You've got your job, your apartment. Me? I'm starting a marriage. That's expensive. A honeymoon like this, he spread his arms wide like a preacher, is once in a lifetime. I let the silence stretch, watching him shift slightly under it. Do you hear yourself? I said finally. You don't even sound ashamed. You sound entitled. Mason's grin slipped. Don't start with that holier-than-thou crap. You've always looked down on me. But guess what? Mom and Dad know who the real priority is. They're investing where it matters. Investing, I repeated, bitter laugh breaking loose. You mean gutting me dry so you can sip piña coladas on a beach? He stepped forward, shoulders squaring. Don't ruin this for me. Don't call the cops, don't go to the dealer, don't make a scene. Just let it go. We'll all be happier. I stared at him, really stared. The boy who used to steal my Halloween candy, who always forgot to pay me back, who somehow turned every mistake into someone else's fault. Only now, he wasn't a boy. He was a man doubling down on the same selfishness. You think this ends with me letting it go? I asked, voice low. He leaned in, eyes narrowing. If you don't, you'll regret it. For a moment, I thought he might swing. But instead, he shoved past me into the apartment, plopping down on my couch like he'd been invited. He grabbed my remote, flicked through channels, then looked up at me with a grin so sharp it made my skin crawl. Relax, he said. We're family. Family forgives. I stood there, fists clenched, feeling the last thread of patience fray. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't sure I could forgive. And for the first time ever, I wasn't sure I wanted to. I didn't sleep that night. Mason's smug voice kept replaying in my head. Relax, we're family. Family forgives. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my signature, forged in my mother's careful handwriting. My car, caged behind a fence. My father's shrug. Mason's grin. By dawn, I'd made up my mind. If they wanted to treat me like an outsider, then fine, I'd play the outsider's hand. I started making calls. The county clerk's office first. I requested a copy of the bill of sale, the title transfer, anything attached to my name. The woman on the line clicked her tongue sympathetically when I explained. If the signature doesn't match your records, that's forgery, she said. File with the DA. They'll take it from there. So I did. I walked into the district attorney's office with a folder full of photos, printouts, and receipts. I laid it out piece by piece like a prosecutor in a TV drama. The young assistant DA, sharp suit, sharper eyes, leaned back in his chair and whistled low. They forged your signature on a motor vehicle sale, he asked. Yes. And you have the car's registration in your name? I slid the original across the table. Still valid. Still mine. He tapped his pen against the folder. That's criminal, not civil. You're right. He looked up at me. Do you want to press charges against your parents? The words hit harder than I expected. Press charges. Against the people who raised me, however poorly. For a second, I saw Christmas mornings, birthday candles, my mom humming while she cooked. Then I saw the empty driveway. The smirk on Mason's face. Yes, I said finally, voice steady. I do. The DA nodded, scribbling notes. We'll open a case. In the meantime, don't confront them again. Let us handle it. But life isn't neat, and my family never let anyone else handle it. That evening, Mom called. I almost didn't pick up. Almost. But curiosity and old habit won. Sweetheart, she said, tone syrupy and brittle. Your father told me you went to the DA. Tell me that isn't true. It's true, I said flatly. She gasped like I'd confessed to murder. How could you? We're family. We were just trying to help your brother. Don't throw your life away over a car. My life. I repeated, stunned. You stole from me, forged my name, sold my property, and I'm the one throwing my life away? Don't be dramatic, she snapped, the sweetness gone now. You always were so sensitive. This is nothing compared to what Mason's building. A marriage, a future. He needs support. You don't. Something in me cracked. No, I said, heat flooding my chest. What he needs is accountability. And if you won't give it to him, I will. The silence on the line was thick, vibrating with her anger. Then she spoke, voice low and cold. If you go through with this, you're no longer part of this family. There it was. The threat. The ultimatum. I almost laughed. Almost. Because the truth was, the second they sold my car, I wasn't part of this family anymore. Then I guess you've already made your choice, I said. And I hung up. The next morning, Mason was waiting outside my building again, this time not alone. My father stood beside him, arms crossed, face tight with something between shame and rage. Mason grinned. Dad didn't. Son, Dad said, voice gravelly. We need to talk. Right now. I didn't invite them in. I didn't even move from the doorway. Dad's eyes locked on mine, heavy and tired, but not apologetic. You went to the DA, he said, more accusation than question. Yes, I answered, arms folded. Because you stole from me. Mason snorted beside him. God, you make it sound like a bank robbery. It's a car. One car. For family. For me. He jabbed his thumb against his chest, grinning like a kid bragging about a prank. I looked at him, then back at Dad. Do you hear him? Does he sound like a man worth destroying your integrity over? Dad's jaw worked, but Mason cut in. You're pathetic, you know that? Running to lawyers, cops, the DA. Like you're some victim. Grow up, man. Pathetic. The word scraped my throat raw. Pathetic is leeching off your parents at 28. Pathetic is stealing from your own brother because you can't stand on your own feet. Pathetic is thinking the world owes you a honeymoon while I'm stuck figuring out how to get to work tomorrow. Dad's voice thundered, sharp enough to make a dog bark across the street. Enough. His fists clenched at his sides. You don't talk to your brother like that. Why not? I shot back. It's the truth. And maybe if you'd told him the truth years ago, we wouldn't be here now. His face darkened. We did what we had to do. You'll understand one day when you have kids. I barked a bitter laugh. No. I'll never understand stealing from one child to spoil another. If I ever have kids, I'll treat them equally. Something you clearly never learned. For the first time, Dad flinched. A tiny crack in the armor. But Mason filled the silence, stepping closer, eyes flashing. You're not gonna win, he hissed. Even if you get the car back, what then? You'll still be alone. No family. Just you and your precious principles. I leaned in, close enough to smell his cologne, the one Mom always bought him at Christmas. Better alone with principles than surrounded by thieves and liars. The words landed like a slap. His smirk faltered, replaced by something meaner. He shoved me hard against the doorframe. Dad didn't stop him. You think you're better than us? Mason spat. I straightened slowly, never breaking eye contact. No. I know I am. Dad's voice cut through again, but quieter this time, almost weary. You press this. You destroy this family. I shook my head. You destroyed it the second you sold my car. For a heartbeat, no one moved. The street felt too still, like even the air was waiting. Then Dad turned sharply, muttering something I couldn't catch. He stalked toward the car at the curb. Mason lingered a moment, staring at me with eyes full of something sharp and ugly. "This isn't over," he said. Then he followed Dad. I stood in the doorway long after they left, chest heaving, knuckles white. The silence they left behind felt different now, less lonely, more final. And for the first time, I realized, maybe that was okay. The call came 3 days later. I was at work, pretending to focus on spreadsheets while my mind ran laps around the same loop. Empty driveway, forged signature, Mason's shove, when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I stepped into the hallway before answering. "Mr. Daniels?" a crisp voice asked. "This is Assistant District Attorney Collins. I wanted to update you on your case." My grip tightened on the phone. "Yes. We've reviewed the documents you submitted, the forged bill of sale, registration, and photos of the vehicle. The handwriting comparison alone is enough to proceed. We've filed charges for forgery and fraudulent transfer of property against your parents." My stomach dropped. Hearing it in cold legal language made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "Against my parents," I repeated, half to myself. "That's correct," Colin said, tone steady but not unkind. "Now, because of their age and standing, the court may lean toward restitution rather than jail time. But your car will be returned, pending the outcome. We've issued a hold on the dealer's resale." I pressed my hand against the wall, dizzy with relief and dread in equal measure. "So, I'm getting my car back?" "Yes," she confirmed. "But be prepared, your family may not take this well. If they contact you, don't engage. Any threats, report them." "Understood. Understood." 2 syllables that felt heavier than stone. By the time I hung up, my legs were shaking. I should have felt victorious. I'd done it. I'd fought back. But all I could picture was my mother's face when she'd warned, "If you go through with this, you're no longer part of this family." That prophecy came true faster than I expected. That evening, my phone lit up with messages. "Mom, how could you do this? They came to our house with papers." "Papers? We could be arrested in front of the neighbors." "Dad, you've humiliated us. Are you happy now?" "Mason, congrats, you destroyed the family. Over a car. Hope it was worth it." Then the group chat exploded. Aunts, cousins, people I hadn't spoken to in months chimed in. "Your poor mother, she doesn't deserve this. Family takes care of each other. I can't believe you'd air dirty laundry in court." The guilt trip came hard and fast, wave after wave. But under it, a different current was forming, anger. Because not one person asked what it felt like to have my property stolen. Not one asked how I was supposed to get to work, or how it felt to see my own name forged like it was worthless. They all closed ranks around the golden child and his enablers. But that night, as I lay in bed scrolling through the flood of messages, I realized something that steadied me. They weren't protecting family. They were protecting an illusion. The kind that only survives if everyone agrees to look away. I wasn't looking away anymore. And the next time I saw Mason, I was going to tell him exactly that. The showdown came sooner than I thought. I was walking back from the grocery store, paper bags digging into my fingers, when I heard my name barked from across the parking lot. Mason. He was leaning against his car like some wannabe gangster, arms crossed, sunglasses hiding his eyes though the sky was gray. I sighed and kept walking. "Don't you dare ignore me," he snapped, pushing off the car and stomping toward me. "You think you've won? You think you're some big hero because the DA filed charges? Newsflash, you're just a rat who sold out his own parents." I set the groceries on the hood of my carless bicycle, turning slowly. "No, Mason. I didn't sell out anyone. I defended myself. Something you've never had to do because Mom and Dad hand you everything. His jaw clenched. You could have handled this quietly. But no, you had to drag us into court, make it public. You humiliated us. Us. I barked a laugh. You mean them. You don't care about Mom and Dad's humiliation. You care that for once, your mess has consequences. He stepped closer, close enough that I could smell the stale cologne. You're pathetic. You'll end up alone, bitter, driving that junker like it's a trophy. Meanwhile, I'll be on a beach with my wife, building a real life. That struck something deep, but not in the way he wanted. I felt calm. A real life? I asked, voice low. Built on lies, theft, and Mommy and Daddy cleaning up after you? That's not a life, Mason. That's a crutch. And one day, they won't be there to hold it for you. His face darkened. You think you're better than me? No, I said evenly. I know I am. Because I earn what I have. And when it's gone, I fight to get it back. The words landed heavy. For a moment, I thought he'd swing. His fists curled, his breath quickened. But then, just as quickly, he smirked again, masking the crack. You're gonna regret this, he hissed. When Mom and Dad cut you out for good, don't come crawling back. I leaned in, whispering just loud enough for him to hear. There's nothing to crawl back to. For once, he had no comeback. He shoved past me, storming to his car, tires squealing as he peeled out of the lot. I picked up my groceries with shaking hands, heart pounding, but for the first time in days, my shoulders felt lighter. Because it wasn't just about the car anymore. It was about finally telling Mason, and myself, that I was done playing the forgotten son. The courthouse smelled like old wood and coffee burned hours ago. My palms sweated against the folder I carried. Registration, photos, the forged bill of sale. Evidence. Proof. Mom and Dad sat at the defendant's table, dressed like it was Sunday service. Mom in her pale blue cardigan, eyes downcast but darting toward the gallery every few seconds, as if checking who might be watching. Dad sat stiff, jaw clenched, hands folded too tightly in his lap. And Mason, front row, arms sprawled across the bench like a king holding court. He grinned when he saw me enter, the kind of grin that dared me to blink first. The judge took the bench, gavel striking once. The sound echoed through my ribs. Case 24 to 1037, the clerk announced. State versus Daniel and Margaret Daniels. Charges: forgery of legal documents, fraudulent transfer of property. Hearing my parents' names read out loud like that, it didn't feel victorious. It felt like someone had cracked the world in half. The DA presented my folder, flipping pages like a metronome. Your Honor, the evidence is straightforward. The defendants signed their adult son's name on a bill of sale, transferring ownership of a vehicle without his knowledge or consent. The dealership has confirmed receiving the car under this fraudulent paperwork. The son immediately reported the crime. This is not a misunderstanding. This is forgery. Mom finally raised her eyes, glassy with tears. She whispered, just loud enough to carry. We only wanted to help Mason. The judge's brow furrowed. Help him by committing a crime? Her lips trembled. Dad's face flushed red, but he stayed silent. When it was my turn, the DA nodded toward the witness stand. My legs felt like iron as I walked forward. The bailiff swore me in, and then I sat, staring at my folded hands until the questions began. Is this your signature on the bill of sale? The DA asked. No, I said firmly. It's a forgery. Did you authorize your parents to sell your vehicle? No. What was your reaction when you discovered the sale? I swallowed hard. I felt betrayed. Violated. My car wasn't just transportation, it was mine. Paid with my own money. And they sold it behind my back, for my brother's honeymoon. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Mason shifted in his seat, smirk twitching into something uglier. The defense attorney, slick suit, practiced smile, tried to spin it. Isn't it true your parents have supported you financially in the past? Isn't it possible they believed this car was part of family resources? I looked straight at him. No. I bought it myself. Every cent. They never made a single payment on it. And even if they had, it was still mine. Signing my name without consent isn't a misunderstanding. It's theft. The attorney's smile faltered. When I stepped down, I didn't look at my parents. Couldn't. The judge recessed for 10 minutes before ruling. I sat outside on the hard wooden bench, heart pounding in my ears. Mason stormed past me, muttering, "You think this makes you the good guy? You're pathetic." I didn't answer. For once, his words didn't stick. When the judge returned, the verdict was swift. Guilty. Restitution ordered. My car to be returned immediately. My parents sentenced to probation, fines, and mandatory community service. Jail time suspended. In light of family circumstances. Mom gasped. Dad's shoulders sagged. Mason looked like someone had slapped him with cold water. And me. I just breathed. For the first time in weeks, I really breathed. But as I walked out of that courthouse, one truth followed me like a shadow. I was free of the theft. Not the loss. Because family, once broken, doesn't get returned with a judge's gavel. The dealership released my car the next morning. When I pulled into the lot with the court order in hand, the bearded man from before, Sam, just grunted and tossed me the keys. No smile, no fight. He knew he'd lost. I walked across the gravel, each step heavier than it should have been. And then, there it was. Midnight blue paint dulled under a layer of dust, dent by the rear badge exactly where I remembered it. My car. Mine. I slid into the driver's seat. The air smelled faintly of old coffee and that pine tree air freshener the dealer had hung. I closed my eyes, pressed my forehead against the wheel, and exhaled. It wasn't joy I felt. Not really. It was relief tangled with grief, like recovering something precious from a fire and realizing it would never be untouched again. When I turned the key, the engine coughed once, then roared to life. The sound filled me with a quiet pride no court could give. I drove out of that lot slow, steady, the world blurring past my window as if I'd slipped back into a version of myself I thought they'd stolen. But the victory was complicated. Back home, my phone lit up with messages I didn't open. Some from cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, lecturing me about forgiving family. Some from Mom, full of guilt-laced pleas. We were just trying to help Mason. Don't turn your back on us. And Mason, of course, sent a single gem. Enjoy your car, loser. I'll be in Bora Bora. I stared at the screen until it dimmed. Then I put the phone down, walked outside, and leaned against the hood of my car under the streetlight. The metal was cool beneath my palms, grounding. 4 years, I'd bent myself small to fit into a family that never really saw me. I was the background son, the reliable one, the safe bet. The one they thought they could use without consequence. But now there were consequences. They had drawn the line, not me. They had chosen betrayal over honesty, favoritism over fairness. And maybe, just maybe, losing them wasn't a loss at all. I looked at the car, dent and all, and smiled for the first time in weeks. Because it wasn't just a vehicle. It was proof. Proof that I could fight back, stand tall, claim what was mine. Family was supposed to mean trust. Mine had sold that away for a honeymoon package. But as the engine cooled under my hands, I realized something simple and freeing. I didn't need their approval to matter. I only needed this, my own name, my own choices, my own damn keys. And for the first time, I drove into the night with no guilt, no strings, no looking back.